How's it going, friends? Tech20 here. A few things have been on my nerves regarding a few games that I've gotten within the past month. There's Lords of the Fallen I've got for PS4 and Assassin's Creed Unity, which I just got a few days ago for PC. Well, I can go and start with Assassin's Creed Unity since I just recently got that game. Since I got it, I pre-ordered it just before it launched on Steam, but it preloaded for like 7 hours because I had to limit my download speed, and when it's like a 40 gigabyte download, it's pretty huge. It to put it bluntly, it runs like shit on my computer, and it's not my computer that's the problem. I have the game running on two Samsung 840 Pro SSDs that are rated in RAID 0, and I have two 780 Ti's that are in SLI, and I have a 5960X CPU. I have more than enough RAM for it, and I even have the game on everything low. Anti-aliasing's turned off, the ambient occlusion's turned off, the bloom's turned off, which I don't like bloom anyway, but everything that's taxing is pretty much at its lowest setting. And I still struggle on my computer to get 30 frames per second solid. Granted, 30 FPS to me in any game is really bleh, Ubisoft. But everything at its lowest, even when I lower the resolution, I struggle to get even 50 frames per second. I was gonna put some gameplay footage behind me, just have it playing, but for some reason, even with restarting it and everything else, Shadow Play it won't record Assassin's Creed. I have the decimal button on the numpad and the keyboard set to start the recording, and any other game it'll crack right off with, but with Assassin's Creed Unity, for some reason, it does not want to record. And it pisses me off because I was wanting to go ahead and show you guys the difference between having it set on high, then putting the game on low settings, and showing you guys that there's really not much difference in performance. Granted, it doesn't help that Ubisoft, for some odd reason, whatever genius this was, they decided to put what seems like, I don't want to say 1,000 because that seems kind of stretching it, maybe 200 to 300 NPCs on a screen in a specific scenario at a time. Well, maybe 500, maybe. And the issue with that is the fact that, aside from it being like the AI, just all these random NPCs that mean absolutely nothing, they're really not even talking, that just sounds like, that whole crowd laughing audio that's looping with them constantly, which kind of kills the immersion to me. It's taking CPU resources that could probably be used for something else. I mean, the crowd's really not useful for much unless you're having to run from something and you can hide and like blend in. Which even then, other than that, after you're done with that, what good are they? And then you have these, with the scenarios where you have all these NPCs and shit just scattered around in the area, I guess, like for filler, because it just seems like that's what it is. You have texture pop-ins with their clothing and shit, like you'll be running towards something, and it's as if the game doesn't register where you're at right away, and it's thinking that the people that are right next to you are still off in a distance where you can't actually see, so it doesn't bother loading those textures and everything else to keep, to try keeping the performance good. But then you get to a certain point where all these NPCs are surrounding you, and they're just they look like clay, kind of like the clothing and shit does. They're like a blank slate because the textures haven't loaded. And then once they start loading, your game starts lagging. Because the game, oh shit, I have to load, textures and everything else for 500-600 NPCs that are doing absolutely nothing. That really annoys me because of the fact that I played the last Assassin's Creed I played was Black Flag. I loved that game. I didn't think the story was a strong point. It was, the exploration and just doing everything else in big-ass ship battles. That was some fun shit, but it ran great on my computer. This game, there's rumors... Sorry about that. There's rumors where I haven't tried it myself. Granted, I hate even the thought of having to do this to make a game run good. Where you have to disable your internet connection. I guess it's something to do with the drop-in, drop-out co-op system, or the fact that, the multiplayer aspect I don't know if it's constantly trying to do shit in the background or what, but there's people that have said that if you turn off your internet and then load the game up, some people have said their frame rates have almost doubled, and that is so stupid. You know, they put the thing in there to have up to, I think, 3 people playing with you, so, you know, you and 3 friends playing together. I think it's 4 people max. And, well, that sounds pretty cool and all that. It's just, one of the aspects that's going to sell it for people, because most people, you know, they prefer to play with friends. Like, okay, so co-op, it's a, you know, decent selling point. But then it makes your game run like shit. And my computer, granted, it took me well over 2 years to get my computer built the way it is right now, but just the way my computer is, I shouldn't be having any problem with any game. I mean, shit, Windows is running on a 120 gig SSD. All my games are on 256 gig Samsung SSDs rated. And when I do speed tests and shit with my SSDs, even with the way I have it now, the average speed that I get, like, for read is 1.2 gigabytes per second, and write is maybe 950 to just shy of a gigabyte. So I don't see any reason why I'd have any trouble, you know, like with games loading shit from the hard drive or the SSDs. I got more than enough speed there. It's just the way they have shit, at least from what I've seen, because I've played it maybe 2.5, 3 hours total. I can't play it more than that. I start playing it, and then the game it starts, and then it acts as if the game forgot to load something that's in a distance that you just can't see yet, like this, like right around the block in the town that you started in because I'm not even out of the very first town. I just hit one synchronization point that opened up a city for a second mission, and I've been just running around the town, climbing buildings, doing random other shit, and you can see anytime your game freezes or something like that, or the camera jerks for some reason, it's like there's something that had to load texture-wise or whatever, or just a bunch of NPCs that were, you know, filler content that loaded that weren't loaded before, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like they have that set right. I mean, I can understand having, you know, all the NPCs in this huge area that you're in. I mean, these towns are fucking huge. And I can understand where you need, like, the mechanic of blending into the crowd to get the, you know, the law officials. I don't want to call them cops because they look really corny to me. But I'm just going to call them officials. To get them off of your back, you, like, you know, have a scenario where they're chasing you. And you have to run to where they don't see you right away. Get into a crowd where you have that little white circle that appears around you, and you're a guy where your character kind of has this, like, white outline that starts around and letting you know that you're blended in. I understand that if the NPCs that roam the town, you know, they're mainly used for that. But there's so many in town, or just on screen at one point, that you're not even really using, that's sucking the performance right down the drain for a lot of people. Even on Xbox One and PS4, people are having trouble with the frame rate and everything else. Just, yeah, there's so much on screen that you're really not going to do anything with. I get that, you know, you want the environment, and you want the immersion, and you want just the town not to be dead. Yeah, we get that. But you've packed so many NPCs on screen. I mean, that is jam-packed. And you have this, the endless annoying loop of crowd laughter, cheers, or claps, or whatever. And when you go up to the NPCs, you don't actually hear them talking. At least I don't anyway, but, well, actually you hear chatter, but it's just like a looped audio chatter. As if you're in this big-ass room and everybody's doing some random talking. That's pretty much what it sounds like, so it's kind of meh. But even on PC, there's not really a crazy amount of graphics options. I mean, you have ambient occlusion, you have texture resolution, shadows, and all this other stuff. Yeah, but even on its lowest settings with, you know, everything is just bleh. You can't turn anything lower. Bloom's off, anti-aliasing's off, ambient occlusion's set off, shadows and everything else are as low as they can be. Excuse me. And it just, the game still performs like shit. And I'm, for one, don't really feel happy about having to possibly disable my internet connection on my computer to get decent, you know, performance in a game. I shouldn't have to do that shit. And the sad thing is, a few people on, I think, PC Gamer, I think, is that I've been browsing a few websites to see if others have found any solutions to the horrendous performance fixes. there's people saying that those that pirate the game on whatever site they manage to find the game on, which there's plenty out there, it's saying that they're going to get the game at its optimal performance and have the optimal experience, because when the game's pirated and everything else, obviously you got the crack or whatever the hell it is, and it ceases connection to the internet. You don't have, obviously all the multiplayer, the co-op shit, that's disabled, but you have the single player experience. And there's some people saying that they can imagine, well, there's actually some people that have said they pirated the game, and that their experience isn't that bad, but it's because the entire multiplayer portion, like the co-op, everything else, all the multiplayer code, it's been shut off. And co-op's going to be such a big selling point for a lot of people that want to play this game. I mean, it was advertised pretty heavily. And to have that shut off to have the game perform decently, how much of a fuck up is that? And I mean, I've verified the cache on Steam. Didn't do nothing, obviously, because none of the files were bad or anything. I just figured, okay, maybe when I was downloading the game, maybe a file slipped through, maybe a file got downloaded. I'm like, okay, just cross that off my checklist of seeing what might be fucked up. But even that didn't help. And I, like many people, were excited as shit about Assassin's Creed Unity. I mean, I don't know if it was the fact that, like, maybe with some of the gameplay that they showed, they didn't have, because I didn't see, like, the texture issues that I'm having in my game now. Granted, most likely some of the footage that they showed was on likely PS4 or Xbox One, so, but even there, people are complaining about having texture issues, pop-ins and everything else. Frame rate is really sporadic, where there's no way in hell this game runs at no 60 FPS, not even close. It don't even run at a solid 30. For that cinematic feel, Ubisoft claims is so good. And just a little tip, Ubisoft, it's not. Assassin's Creed, any game really for that matter, that relies on action, you want fluidity, you just want everything on screen to appear smooth, play that sumbitch in 30 FPS. And then play it in 60. I don't care who you are, I don't care who says it, like, your eyes don't see it properly. Play the game, 30 FPS, then play it at 60. If you tell me you don't see a difference, you need your eyes checked. And that's not me being a dick either. Like the same thing, and not mentioning Assassin's Creed right here, but like with Dark Souls. When I played it on PC, it was locked at 30 or some shit. It was horrendous. Everything just seemed slow. Dodging the movement, the swinging of the weapons, everything just seemed off. But then once I got it up to that 60 FPS after it was unlocked, it was an entirely different game because the experience just felt that much different. Yeah, you're doubling your frame rate to 60, but just your dodges feel different, your swings feel better. Nothing feels, what's the word I want? Nothing feels slick. It should just, everything feels like it should with a game. I don't know what else I could say about Assassin's Creed Unity other than I don't know if I'm going to be able to even play it like I wanted to. Because I played it a little bit before I started this recording to see if I could get the performance to be somewhat decent enough to be able to record to throw it in the background for you guys. And there was even, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but just I'm a very explorative person. When it comes to playing a game, it's I don't want to say open world, but with an area that's as huge as the one is in AC Unity. And even when you're doing missions, you have these big areas. You can pretty much climb buildings, do whatever you need to do whatever parkour you figure that you want to do to get to the area that you need to get to. And I try taking advantage of that to the max and then some. I always try finding ways that I myself want to get to the objective with. Not necessarily ways that are like the nominal, like in the mission I did before I started this. Sorry about the throat. Just kind of dried out. Probably should have waited to record this, but it's on my mind. I want to get it off my chest. There's the mission where you have to deliver this note to this guy. I don't even think you get to deliver the note, but there's a huge-ass crowd in front of a gate, and you have guards, well, a guard on each side of the gate, and then you have people behind it. And they're trying to, I guess, you're supposed to wait your turn to go visit somebody? It's what I assume, because I failed the mission. Well, I got caught like 8 or 9 times just, trying my little different ways of getting into this building. And one thing that pissed me off is after I failed it the first time, because if you run while you're in the crowd, you're immediately detected, and they take you right out to the very end, well, to the end of the line you go. Then you have to start walking through this crowd again. But you have to walk through the crowd, because as soon as you start trying to run, while you have that little, you're outlined in this white stuff, like a white filmy kind of thing. Trying to find the right word for this, but it's when you're pretty much hidden and you're blended in with the crowd. No, and even if an official goes right next to you, and he was alerted before, if you have that around you, he won't notice you. After I failed the first time, you go in and there's usually this carriage. Well, there's this carriage, it's static, it doesn't move. And there's usually a little group of, or two little groups of people that are right next to the carriage. That wasn't there for me. It didn't load the first, or the second to maybe the fifth try that I did. And it's usually supposed to be there that way if you want to go into the crowd, go out around into this crowd to blend in. Then there's another crowd right up in front of that beside the carriage where you go into that. And then there's another little group of people, and then you can go into the door. I felt really restricted due to the fact that if I didn't do it that way, there's really no other way to do it. Because there's a big group of NPCs, another group by the carriage, and then another big group that looks like they're waiting by a door on the side, but that you can't open. Then beyond another carriage, I think it was a carriage, there's another 4 or 5 people you can blend into to have the guard pass, and then crouch and go through the door behind him. Some of them groups of NPCs didn't load every time, after I failed to be able to try it again. So there was times I'd have to purposefully get caught just to wait for that little group of NPCs to load. That way I could go and try to, blend in with them to get past the damn guards, which really, it was irritating. And with missions like that, in a game like this, I just, how you have all these, the town that you're in, it's ginormous, and it's like, that kind of parkour, I think that's really well done. The way you can jump from ledges and shit on these little poles, I guess like flag poles that are hanging off buildings. Just like the fluidity of the animations in that, those are nice. Those are really nice. Granted, you have to hit a few different keys to get shit going really good, but once you get it going, it's really nice and fluid, and one animation leads right into another. There's really no stutter from, like, jumping off of a flagpole onto another one, like swinging underneath it, jumping up onto this pallet of wood or whatever, and then running across that. It's all really just smooth and seems right together. That's really nice. But I feel like there's these, you have all this open world fun, when you're just browsing around for shit, looking for chests and stuff like that to collect, to get money or whatever it is that you want. But then you go into a mission, and it's like you go from, at least to me, that's how I felt, personal opinion here with this whole thing, is my personal opinion. But you go from having your own freedom of just doing whatever the fuck you want to do, and then you're in a mission, and you immediately have restraints. It's like tunnel vision. Okay, either you do it this way, or you're not going to complete the mission. And for all I know, I have to say this, for all I know, missions later on, they're going to open up and you can complete them in any way you can think of, as long as you obviously don't get caught. Which, I can understand getting caught because there's officials trying to contain the mayhem when you're really the only one causing it. At least it seems like it anyway. Because, remember, I've only played like maybe 3 hours total, so I haven't got 10-15 hours into the game and unlocked other areas or whatever. I really need this performance shit. Well, along with just about everybody else is playing this game. PC, Xbox One, or PS4, doesn't matter what system you're on. It needs to be fixed, that way people can enjoy this game. And I'm hoping so bad that missions later on in the game don't have that, well, at least what I feel is the tunnel vision. Where that mission I was describing with all those NPCs, after you get into the building, there's another area where there's a huge amount of NPCs just standing there listening to some guy repeat the same, like, 4 lines over and over and over and over. Yeah. It's the tiny things that I listen to that just, okay, how much do they put into this? Is the audio going to be looped forever in this one part, and you're just supposed to get here, have a cutscene happen, and then leave? Well, in this scene, since you're supposed to be delivering a note to this guy, there's a little cutscene that once you get through the crowd that's in front of the dude, well, you get like halfway through it, there'll be a cutscene showing a guy come out, grabbing the guy that you need, or saying, hey, we need you. Then he goes back behind the curtain, and you have to go backstage. And then what annoyed me was I was already in front of the crowd, like way in front of it. And unless I went, along the front of the crowd, and then down or back straight toward the middle, I could not get away from that crowd. I could not move from in front of them or nothing. I was stuck. I had no choice but to walk in front of them, keeping that I'm gonna call it aura from now on. It's easier. Well, that the symbol that lets you know, or the shit that lets you know you're blended in. Then you had to walk back through the middle of the crowd. It could not be anything but the middle. Then go up steps and along this little sideway type alley thingy. And then you get to another part, and then there's a cutscene that shows the guy you're supposed to give a note to, which you never give him to. I give it to him. I don't think you do anyway. Then you go into another room, and you have to fight two bums. Jump out the window, then you gotta go hide. Or become anonymous within the crowd, and once that's done, the mission's over. I myself just felt like I had like these chains on my ankles. Or just like around my person, like this barrier. Okay, you try going this way, your character's just not going to do shit. And I didn't like that. And as I've said probably 2 or 3 times before, the missions may be different later on, but I'm probably not going to play hardly any more of this game till after they get some of the shit fixed. I mean, I think it'd be nice if they had a slider in the game. Or determining, okay, do you want the crowd or the town to be crowded, completely just packed, full of NPCs? Or, just slide it down a little bit. Lay off the CPU a little bit. We don't need all these damn people just crowding up these streets. They're not doing jack shit. They're literally just standing there doing the same animations. Like they got 5 to 6 or 5 to 10 seconds of animations, and then it just loops. We don't really need that. Yeah, it's great to see a town not, like a ghost town, not empty as shit. That's nice to see, but I myself think that all these NPCs on screen, they're killing performance a little bit. I mean, when you're running and shit, if you walk, you don't notice it as much, but when you're trying to run, you'll notice how it's like the game is having a hard time keeping up and loading all the shit on these NPCs that it needs to load. And no idea what that was. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about AC Unity. Now, Lords of the Fallen. I've been told that the performance on this game on PC is pretty subpar also, but I have it on PS4. And the frame rate is just, ugh. I mean, I don't even think this game keeps a solid 30. I'm pretty sure I'm always getting between 20 and 25. You go outside in certain environments, and you can just like feel the game going to like a slow-mo, then it goes back. But obviously it's really just the frame rate dipping really low. And some of the boss fights, I haven't beat the game. I've actually had a hard time keeping myself into it. I've got like maybe 5 hours into the game. And I've beat 4 or 5 bosses. I think it's 4 or 5 bosses. And also going around exploring stuff, and after I defeat a boss, go to these portals. And in these portals, there's like I don't want to say challenges, but it's like going into another realm, I guess you could say. And you have to find a chest, so there's certain things you have to do. Follow this light globe. And once it gets to a certain area, it unlocks a chest for you, and then you can get something. Once you explore and find the loot that you need in the area, you can leave. You could also farm the shit out of it, because after you go back out, I'm pretty sure you could go right back in. Either that or go to a different area, come back, go into the portal again, and you can fight all the enemies again for XP. So if you needed to, it'd be a decent way to farm, I guess. You just want to make sure it's some pretty big dudes, that way you get chunky XP for them. Another thing I myself didn't like, well, don't like, is I prefer to play as like the heavy guy, heavy armor, big ass weapon. Well, I'm using the Fate Axe, I think that's what it's called. Well, you're playing the heavy playstyle pretty much. You got the fat roll, with the really heavy ass armor, and you got about 60 to 75% of your equipment weight just, from all your armor and your weapons and stuff. Then there's these bosses, and I know before I even say this, there's going to be people saying, well, you could just switch your armor to light on the go, or just switch, everything to light or medium, that way you can move faster. I get that. But I'm the kind of person when it comes to these games, I have a way that I want to play through the game. I don't necessarily like being like the game telling me, okay, you have to do this way, or you're gonna have a really fucking hard time with this fight. There's a boss called the Beast. Yeah, really imaginative there. Beast is what it's called. And he pretty much just runs, well, slowly runs to you. And if you get close enough to him and back away, you bait him and do this double swing. And after he's done with the second swing, you can shoot him in the foot with your gauntlet, the projectile ability, I think. And you'll make this little bar underneath the health bar go up slowly in increments each time that you hit him. And once you hit him, he'll go down in a state like he's resting, and then you can just wail on his head like, you know, you'll do pretty decent damage to him. Not crazy, but you'll do pretty decent damage to him. But after that's done, guess what you get to do? The exact same thing you just did before to get him to go down. Then after, I think it's his second or third time going down, he has his poison ability where he'll scream or he'll roar at you, and parts of his body will start glowing green. I don't know if that means that he can do more damage to you and he's got more defense or what, but that's possible, I guess. But then there's times instead of him doing the roar and just parts of him turning or like glowing green for the power up, he'll like spit these 3 cones of acid out. They'll come out like 3 little cones, and they'll splat. And if you're close enough to him, like bait him to do it, then just back away or dodge away, and you'll miss it. Then he'll start doing a swinging over and over again. I don't know. To me, it was a pretty lazy boss. I died to him, I think, 3 or 4 times learning what I need to do, and it just after I figured it out, it was like, oh yeah, but this isn't very fun. I mean, aside from the fact that I had to switch to light armor, which kind of sucked because the armor I was using had a lot of these runes that I had. You can devote certain amounts of XP to runes to get possible rare runes, and you can put them on empty sockets and weapons and armor. I had all my shit socketed up to the way that I wanted, you know, and then I had to switch that for this boss fight, which just really irked me. And to me, it seems like the entire time I'm playing the game, the PS4 is having a hard time just barely keeping a semi-decent frame rate. You know, a playable frame rate, like maybe, I don't want to, 30, it's playable. Not enjoyable, but it's playable. And I don't know, it just seems to me like, well, this could be for pretty much any game that's coming out for the new consoles, you know, PS4, Xbox One, and even PC games. And I'm going to kind of go off the subject of games here and talk a little bit about just consoles and PCs in general. I'll end up putting a link in the description to skip to certain parts, since I don't think you guys are going to want to hear me blabble. This is probably going to be a good 40-minute video. The next subject that just is on console parity. Wanting to get a game running like parallel, exact same on Xbox One and PS4. And then the PC port having to suffer because some developers, Ubisoft, are wanting to have a game run, you know, in parity the same way on all 3 systems. That is the dumbest shit you could ever do to a game. Ever. The PS4 and Xbox One, yeah, they're the current gen now, still commonly referred to as next gen consoles. They don't have the same performance. The Xbox One, and I have both of them, as you may have seen in my gaming setup video that I did. I have both of them. I'm not one of those fanboy specific people that, oh, you know, the like the shit box or the slow station or whatever names you guys have come up for them. I don't ride that train. The PS4 has, from what I remember, because it's been a while since I've looked up the shit on these systems. The Xbox One has limitations with its CPU, I guess. Then the PS4 sometimes in games has issues with the GPU, or unless it's the other way around, which wouldn't surprise me. But here's the thing. To me, when these developers come out and instead of saying the 1080p 60 FPS that all of us gamers want, and it's not that we feel like we're needy, it's just if you haven't played games, any game for that matter, 1080p, at least 1080, and at a solid 60 FPS, you don't know what you're missing. If you're not used to that kind of, you know, that kind of gameplay, I don't really think you understand exactly where most of us gamers come from. And like with most of the games on my computer, if they don't run at 1080p 60 FPS, you know, it's either a game that's really horribly optimized or just, it's not, well, I guess you could say not being coded right is not really optimized. If you're having a hard time getting games to run at the 1080p 60 FPS standard on the consoles, don't do the whole shit with the console parity, dropping it down to 900p 30 FPS for the cinematic feel. Take your cinematic feel and go fuck yourself. If you can't get it running on the consoles like that, just fucking say it. Yeah, it'll piss some people off because, oh, 1080p 60 FPS and it's $400 instead of spending, you know, $600 to like $1,200 or $1,300 on a computer to do that. That, to me, I understand that. Where you're promised 1080p 60 FPS and you get a console that can supposed to be able to play, any game that comes out on that system, you don't have to worry about upgrading it unless you decide to install everything. Then you may have to get an external hard drive. But you get these people, they get these consoles, and now I think both of the consoles are around $350 right now. You can possibly, if you look around, get them with the Xbox One for like $329, I believe. But you get both these consoles now for under $400, I'm pretty sure. And people get them, and then they expect them to perform the way that they were told they were going to perform. But then, it's like most of that ended up being marketing mumbo-jumbo, and the consoles have a hard time even handling 900p and 60 FPS sometimes. Well, if that's true, no matter how bad it may piss off some of us, it won't really piss off me as I kind of expected. Just tell us. We'll get pissed off about it, but if you come out and just tell us. This is not strictly Ubisoft, even though I'm kind of poking at them here. Any game developer. If you can't make a game run at 1080p 60 FPS because the console can't handle it, just fucking say it. You have a $400 piece of machinery. Yeah, you have the whole 8-core, 8 gigabytes of dedicated RAM. Yeah. But you can have an 8-core CPU, but the CPU itself may not be fast enough to be able to process all this shit and keep it going. And the GPU may not be fast enough. You know, you may have the RAM there, yeah. But I'm pretty sure that's 8 gigabytes is shared for the GPU and the system itself. It's not like an 8 gigs for the system and then 8 gigs for the GPU. Shit, we don't even have that with computers right now. But well, the 8 gigabytes of system RAM, we kind of do a lot more than that. But and then when it comes to the fact and all this limitation for the consoles, which if you're gonna make a game and say, well, we're putting it down to this resolution, this frame rate, because we want it to feel better, and we don't want to have to sacrifice other stuff, just come out and say that the consoles can't take it. Just say that in order to have this game playable at a really smooth frame rate and to have everybody be able to enjoy it, just say that the consoles can't take 1080p 60 FPS. I probably repeated that 2 or 3 times, but it's something that needs to be stressed quite a bit, at least to me anyway, and there's a lot of other people that I've talked to that have, they feel the same way. Yeah, we like that big resolution, the high frame rate, the frame rate makes it solid, the high resolution makes the game, it looks better on screen than that 720p stuff. But, sorry for the furnace if you guys can hear that. You're gonna end up putting, any developer really, you keep this whole mindset about, we have to have games running the exact same on any system that we release it for, whether it be PC, Xbox One, PS4, or 360 or PS3. If you try going console parity with that shit, or just, the parity for the whole game across all systems, you're gonna fuck yourself over, and you're gonna lose game sales. Then your business is gonna end up having a bit of, downfall, like with money earning wise, because no one's gonna buy your shit because you're not giving us the full story. Now, another thing a lot of people get pissed off with, me definitely with this one, is you want the console parity, so you want the game running right, or the same exact way on the consoles. But then you want that exact same formula for the PC. So you want a PC, which it's nowhere near the consoles, and I'm not saying this to start a stupid war, because wars are for children. Console war stuff is for children. Get it? Okay. But you want the parity for the Xbox One, PS4, and then you want it for the PC. No. Don't do that. There's a lot of people that have PCs. They don't have to be, $1,000 PCs to run games really decently with the way some of the hardware's went down in price. Have the game take advantage of the consoles to their utmost without causing performance issues. If that means you can't do 1080, so fucking be it. If you have to do 900p to get 60 FPS, do it. Just come out and say it. We may not like it, but we'd understand it. You're being honest with us. That'd be much better than throwing this parity bullshit down our throats. And then with the computer, make sure you have PC options. In your graphics thing, like tessellation with DirectX 11 stuff, shadows, texture resolution, like shadow map texture, whatever you have to do. Blooming, ambient occlusion, the new TXAA anti-aliasing method. Fill it up. Kind of like what the way Borderlands 2 did with PC. Add a field of view slider, just take advantage of the PC and its power. Regardless of the kind of specs, make sure it's optimized. There's a big thing that the game developers don't do these days is optimize their shit. Optimize it for PC to, the max. Add SLI support and everything else, crossfire support for the AMD users. Just like you would optimize it to the fullest of the console's potential. Make sure that when you put the game out on the PC, we can, the game, since the PC's usually the more powerful system, it's a given, it's going to happen, guarantee it. Make sure that game can take advantage of that power, but make sure it does it in an optimized and smooth fashion. 1080p 60 FPS. If we want to, let us unlock the FPS to where we can go all the way up. But then if for some odd reason something in the game or shit in the game ends up not running right because you have the FPS higher than 60, I guess you can put a disclaimer there to where if you unlock the FPS, just have a little disclaimer on the side. You may or may not experience issues with your frame rate being unlocked. Just come out and say it. It pains me so very much to see, or the fact that I may have to sometimes buy a game for a console, and I have no issues with consoles. I play on them quite often myself. I just prefer games to be on my computer. I'm not one of these people that's in this PS4 is better, Xbox is better, PC master race. I don't do that stupid fucking shit. I want to play my games. And if it happens to be on the Xbox One, fine. If it happens to be on PS4, fine. If it's only for PC, fine. I don't give a shit. I'm in all of this for the games, not the systems that they're on. Weird buzzing noise. I hope you guys don't hear that. But I'm having a hard time not repeating myself because that's something that just, to me, needs to be stressed, like, industry-wide. Gaming in general. That us gamers, we want games that work. We want games that run fine. We want games that don't have these stupid fucking limitations. We want games that we don't have to wait for, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 patches down the road for some bitch to even run good on our systems. There's people, from what I've read, that can't even actually play Unity on the Xbone or PS4 because of the fact that the performance is so bad. Excuse me. We don't want to have to wait 2 or 3 months after we've already dropped $60 on a game to be able to play it. We want to get it, pay for it, get it installed if we need to do that, and then play it, and then enjoy that, $60 that we just spent. We don't want to have to fucking wait for you developers to, okay, we're going to release a game that's like 75% done, then we're going to fix the other 25% via patches. Don't do that shit. If you have to delay your games 2 or 3 months, do it. It'll kind of annoy some people because they don't get to play the game right away, but we'd get a game that actually works. Like with The Witcher 3, if I'm not mistaken, that game was delayed 6+ months. I'm pretty sure it was delayed a while. But CD Projekt Red said they're doing it because they want to release the best possible game. So we don't have to have all these patches and shit. And you want to know something else? It's really great about The Witcher 3. There's going to be 16 DLCs for it. They're all going to be free. Yeah, get that free. None of this season pass garbage for the fucking stuff. None of this stupid companion app like Assassin's Creed Unity needs. Because you have to actually use the companion app on your Android phone or whatever to actually unlock more content. Fuck you. I'm getting a little worked up here. But, yeah, CD Projekt Red with Witcher 3, the game's supposed to be up to, I think, almost 3 times bigger than Skyrim. It's not one big world, it's 3, regions combined, but or like separated, but I guess one region is almost twice the size of Skyrim. I may be wrong. Really, water softener? Fucking sumbitch. If you hear that, I'm sorry. I can't really do nothing about that. But it just, this game, it's gonna have all this extra content for it, but it's all just no DRM, no nothing. You buy the game, it's yours. You don't have to worry about being online for the fucking thing. Well, maybe unless you go to install the game and they've provided updates for like, or little bugs they may find here and there, which is possible. Witcher 2 had maybe 4 that I could think of, but like 2 out of those 4 patches were to put more features into the PC version. Hell, there was an update with Witcher 2. It was the combat rebalance thing. Don't crucify me, Witcher fans, if that's not what that's called. But it was like this 2 gigabyte update. It was included with the enhanced edition of Witcher 2, which I have. It rebalanced and just redid like half of the shit with combat and just everything else. And it looked and felt amazing after that. That's the kind of shit that we need. Developers and stuff that are gonna, if they can't make a deadline and they need more time, delay the fucking game and do it. Don't put something out that's 50% complete and then the other 50% of the game is gonna be unlocked via DLC and all the shit. Destiny. If you have to delay your game up to a year, yeah, it'll suck. You know, you won't get the sales from the game as soon as you're wanting. But if you release a half-assed or unfinished game, you're gonna have people back or just straight up wanting to pimp slap you across the face because you release something that, you know, they're not gonna actually get the full experience. Kind of the way I feel about Destiny until maybe a year down the road, after you're done releasing stuff that's only included or only free if you spend another additional $30 on the season pass. So you might as well just say you're selling us a $90 game that still isn't going to be finished for another year. That shit don't cut it. If you're going to make people spend that kind of money, value their purchase, value them as a consumer, as just someone who's, they're helping you profit off of a game. Since without the consumer buying shit, you're not going to do anything anyway. So if they're going to dump that kind of money into something, here's our appreciation, our thanks to you for spending, your hard-earned money on our game. Give them some free shit. And I don't mean by like a little, like with what Destiny's pre-order thing was. You got a vehicle, you got a ghost, and something else. You can't do anything with your ghost, and you can't do anything with your vehicle. So what the fuck's the point in giving it to us? Yeah, they were different skinned. Big whoop. That's not going to do anything for us. Give us like a special weapon that you can only get if we pre-order it. A lot of people don't like that either, but just make it worth the pre-order. Make it worth the purchase to people. Or like you gain experience faster or something. Just make it not seem so just okay, we're at last minute thing, we're gonna throw this in here for DLC. Make the DLC well thought out of. Lose my train of thought because I'm getting pissed off. Let me see here. Yeah, I guess that was most of what I wanted to get off my chest right now. I'm going to be doing a lot of these rambling videos. I kind of enjoy this. It kind of helps me get unstressed. I can just take shit that's on my chest and just throw it out and then see if you guys feel the same way. Let me know. If you guys feel differently about something, just say it. This is kind of what I want, is to get a big old conversation going about stuff that us gamers, I don't care what you play on. Hell, whether you play on the Wii U or whatever, if there's games that are released that aren't performing up to par with that or something like that, if it seems incomplete, say something. Shit ain't gonna get fixed unless we decide to, step or put our foot down like, okay, fuckers, we want you to keep making games because we enjoy playing them, but we don't want you to release something that's half-assed done. 50% here, then another is 6 months, oh, okay, now the game's finished. Well, why not just put a 6-month delay on it, then release it when it's finished, instead of me spending 50 or 60 bucks on an unfinished game? That's really gonna get you a bad rep, that's really gonna get you some people that aren't too happy with you, and that's really gonna get your sales to plummet. Kind of like Ubisoft's did over, I think it's over in UK or in Europe. Their sales, or their stocks, I think, plummeted 9% because of, bad sales. That's what happens when you release a game that's not finished or not fully optimized. That's how we can fix this shit, people. We speak with our wallets, and maybe, after a company loses a lot of money over a game, it's like, okay, we're not doing this to be dicks. We're doing this to show you we don't want your... It's like we're beta testing games now. It's like, okay, we're going to throw this game out here and you guys are going to complain about all this stuff and we're going to fix your complaints. Okay, great. Well, then instead of releasing the game like that, have a closed beta or have an open beta for people to test your shit. You know? You're gonna get some, when people go into an open beta, they obviously don't expect a finished game. They'll play it, then if they find a bug, they tell you. Isn't that much easier than just having the company itself, just the people that work for the company do all this bug testing? Because to be completely honest, us players are going to look for a lot more shit in a lot tinier ways than, to me, the developers will. You got people that you put out an open beta and you have 400,000 or 500,000 people play that open beta, if, obviously open. That is a lot of beta testers. You're not limited to just what the company itself does. With its little, bug, they play a game, okay, I found this bug, I gotta go back and fix this. You got all these people playing this game and they're all just playing and doing different shit. That is a lot better at finding bugs and fixing them than it is at releasing the game and then expecting bug reports from people, then patches later. Do it with an open beta. It's expected. That's what the betas are for. Betas aren't finished products. It's in the works. It could be pre-alpha, alpha, it could be like a beta, letting you know it's close to being released or being finished. Let us help you do that. We want to play the game. We want to, a lot of us, me included, we enjoy being part of that building process. Like, you release a game that's in beta, or put a closed alpha out. Let us partake in that. Let us help find some bugs. Let us submit them to you on the forums and let you guys know, okay, this is what's out here. You let a big old group of gamers that are really excited about your game test that shit. That game is going to come out if you take into our consideration what we say, the bugs that we find and stuff like that. Everything that we say and we let you know, okay, do this. Doing this may not work so great, but you could try doing it this way. If you take all of that into consideration, all of that, into heart, and put that into your games, and then release them, you're not going to have half as many people bitching, granted, as long as you make sure the fucker's optimized, but we'll be letting you know that while we play the game. On whatever system we decide to play it on. It doesn't matter. You'll have much happier customers. You'll gain reputation as a company for, hey, yeah, these guys, these guys take their shit seriously. These guys throw their stuff out and let, the people that are going to hopefully be buying their game, they let them test and let them get a big feel for the game. And they, in turn, help us make the game better by providing all this feedback. You won't get that if you don't do those kind of, beta or alpha tests. That shit sometimes makes me, look at a game even stronger. Like, okay, the alpha's here, but then knowing that when we get the next build, like when they have the next alpha, or closed beta, or whatever you want to call it, the feedback that we provided is going to help make that next one better. And then it's that, that much closer to being released as a full game. For us to play in, and just know that we were part of the building process to make that game what it is. That shit's fun as hell. A lot of us like that. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and end this rambling right here. I'll just go ahead and put links in the description as what I'm talking about and when. That way you guys don't have to sit through a 50-minute video if you don't want to. So, if you guys enjoy the video, go ahead and leave your likes, shares, and favorites. If you want to go ahead and comment, start a conversation up, or you maybe disagreed or you agreed in a certain way with something that I said and you want to maybe elaborate more on it, go ahead. It may end up, striking a chord in my head to where I want to make another video about that and talk about that in depth. And then get even more people talking about that. That's, it's how this shit gets out there. It's what we need to do. So, I thank you guys very much for watching this, and depending on where you guys live in the world, I hope you have a good day or night, and I will see you all in the next video. And hopefully we'll be talking about some of your opinions if you guys post comments in this video. So, yeah. Peace.